Here's a great question of the day. In 2020, President Trump wanted to help truck drivers and said that the freight brokers were making all the money pretty much. Do you think that when he comes back in, it will help with freight broker transparency? Let's get into today's video.
The confidence as they return, and we'll continue to work with CDC and others to help on that front too.
And Gene, you have to help the truckers also.
We've been talking about the truckers, Mr. President. I can give you a report.
Because they've been out there, and I'll tell you, they work hard, and they have brokers that take a lot of their business away. They don't work so hard. They sit in an office someplace. It's not good. So I'd like to help the truckers.
You have until January of 21st of 2025 to comment on this. There's 840 comments. Most of those are from freight brokers. Carriers are commenting on it as well. I would say that freight brokers are unhappy with this, and carriers want this to be a thing. Basically, to keep it short, after 48 hours, the freight broker has to show you what they made off of it. And, carriers want that. Freight brokers do not. Why are the freight brokers all fighting so hard for this not to go through? And the second thing is, do you think that getting the pricing 48 hours later actually helps you? Yes or no? I would say this. Carriers at this point do not trust freight brokers at all. So I'm not saying that there aren't great freight brokers out there taking care of carriers. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that when a freight broker says that they don't have any money in it or that they're doing it for nothing, then I would say that the carrier does not trust that. And if you actually showed that you're not making much off of this and that you're giving most of that money to the carrier, that'd be up to the carrier at that point. Biggest problem is carriers, owner-operators, truck drivers do not trust when freight brokers say this is all the money they have in it. So if it's true, they show the numbers, and that will build that relationship. Because I'll say this again, carriers can do this without brokers, but brokers cannot do this without carriers. Let's get into today's video, and let's hear a little bit about the mindset of what freight brokers are thinking of, and tell me if you agree or not. This is going to be a great episode today, so let's get right into this. Since I made my last video about this, I've had so many freight brokers email me, some a little hateful, and that's okay. I get it. We're a carrier channel, a truck driver channel. So, I try to share unbiased information. So, at the end of the day, it's okay to be mad. If you're mad, that's fine. Basically, the big thing here is January 21st, 2025. Make sure you put your comments down below. The FMCSA has to read every single comment. Okay, so let's read into some of this and let you guys know what's going on and how the freight brokers are feeling about this. One says this proposal is an overreach that will be detrimental to the transportation supply chain industry as a whole. Freight brokers are necessary in today's freight environment as the lack of overhead allows them to invest in technology that is in higher demand from shippers. Brokers can help the smaller carriers provide the necessary information to the shipper community without the carriers having to invest in the technology themselves. For 23 years, I've worked for the largest broker in North America and one off of the largest 3PLs in the world. I started my own company in 2015 and have grown into 15 million in gross revenue. I have owned trucks and managed drivers and currently move 5,000 to 6,000 truckloads through our family-owned brokerage. I cannot in my right mind find any reason as to why you would think that this is in any shape or form or fashion a good idea. Why would you think a motor carrier would want visibility to broker pricing information but for malicious intent? They are going to take that information and try to undercut every broker they get business from. They will drive down prices in spite of themselves. They are their own worst enemies. So, Mutha Truckers, the question here is, and this is a freight broker, if truck drivers have this information about the pricing, and for the ones that don't know, basically, you're going to get this information on pricing 40 hours after you're done with that load. Okay? They believe that carriers and truck drivers will just undercut themselves. Is that true? Do you agree with that? Yes or no? From a freight broker that says the transportation marketplaces are very transparent with load boards and other technology pricing tools. FMCSA should focus on highway safety and addressing the freight and fraud pandemic that's costing supply chain over $1 billion annually. FMCSA already has a rule in place to protect motor carriers, which we already know that they make carriers sign waivers so that they can't exercise their right. The move towards rate transparency being a duty of broker means nothing unless FMCSA also says brokers cannot waive their regulatory duty without such a waiver constituting evasion of regulation. I agree with that as far as that goes. Right now, they can make you sign a waiver saying that you won't ask for the rate con. So what's any different here if the FMCSA doesn't put that in there as well? They can't waiver this. Within 48 hours is a joke. Needs to be at time of booking, load like everything else. They don't check your insurance within 48 hours. They don't check your MC within 40 hours. They don't make you connect your ELO trucking within 40 hours. At that time, you cannot see if brokers companies are keeping more than X amount of total payment. If so, don't run the load. Another person says, I oppose broker rate transparency. The relationship between broker and customer is a separate relationship than that of broker and carrier. As a broker, we are hired to move freight regardless of the cost. While we make money on most loads, there are plenty of loads we break even and or take losses and satisfy customer needs. What are your thoughts about this, right? Because, when I think, okay, this is just my opinion here. I can understand the gripes from both parties, right? And I can understand when a freight broker is saying that they're losing money and there should be no shame when they are making money. Well, I think the big part is I don't think the carrier, the truck driver, cares as much about what you're making if they're making great money. Here's the thing. They're already not making great money from the load. And then they find out that you're eating a lot of the money that's not great money already. And I think that's where the problem comes from, right? If you were to tell a carrier or owner operator, hey, on this load, I'm not really making much, and on the next one, I'll hook you up. Well, if you show exactly what the shipper's paying and the carrier could physically see that you're not making much off of this and you're just keeping the business relationship, in mind keeping that relationship with the carrier as well, then I think an owner operator will be more trusting of that, right? And they might take that. That'd be up to them. I mean, especially don't take things if it doesn't make you money. But I think that's the problem. The problem is carriers do not trust what freight brokers are telling them.